Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk with Serge. You may notice Ryan is noticeably absent today. We had an updated title card for our video, which I really enjoyed. Coffee Tall with Serge, I think Drew put. So we have special guest Haylee Mills with us today. Haylee, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm here to ask the very important questions that have been ignored up to this point. I know that Mick has been a government cyberspace hacker and has access to secret technology, which I assume is powering that shoe spinning in the background.
Technically, it's magnets, and I honestly, magnets are obviously some secret technology because I don't think any of us know how they work.
That's
We
true.
need answers,
That's true.
Mick. We need answers.
Ask the ICP.
Well, anyway, I'm so happy to have you on, Haylee, and I love your, is that a llama mug that you have?
Perhaps an alpaca.
Or an alpaca.
I'm not well versed.
Is it alpaca? Alpaca? I don't know. I have a Splunk mug, brand awareness.
Good rep. Yeah.
Mick, do you have a mug today? Or are you...
Oh, it's David Lopan, Big Trouble in Little China. I know, really should be asking, what is the best movie ever and why is it Big Trouble in Little China?
Oh, yeah. Well, I already agree, so you don't need to convince me.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, I guess let's just get started then. We have a lot of news stories to go into, and we're playing a bit of musical chairs today since Ryan is absent. So instead of me reading the news stories, I thought we would let Mick take the reins on this. So if you want to go ahead and let us know what you think is newsworthy today.
Sure. So we're going to start off with everyone's favorite ransomware group, Conti, kind of like the Lex Luthor of ransomware groups. Their latest victim is the government of Costa Rica. I remember about a month ago when all this started happening. Over the weekend, they raised the ransom from 10 million to 20 million and said the goal is to overthrow the government, which it really is a major escalation from what we've seen in ransomware groups. Kind of a new one for me. Conti also says they have insiders inside the government. And I believe it's the AP saying that 27 institutions were impacted and folks had to file their taxes by hand, which kind of, I don't even want to file my taxes, let alone by hand. So it looks like it's pretty bad over there. And the US is offering 10 million to anyone who has information about Conti or their affiliates or anything like that. So folks, if you're out there and got, some info about $10 million is a lot of money, you can help out apparently the government of Costa Rica.
And it is interesting that their government, they have a new president who just started that job a week ago. So I feel like that's extra pressure. Like you just come into this new administration and then boom, your whole financial institution is just like upended by this ransomware attack. What do you do? I mean, it's...
I think the standard answer is I inherited this mess. That's normally what
this isn't my fault.
Right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, they went for like the Conti message after they doubled the ransom is like, you went to Biden, that old foolish man, and then doubled it to 20. So it's like, yeah, you try to do something, but they've got a lot of cards in their hands.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, is this a new target or going to be an increasingly common target? I mean, we've seen governments, smaller, cities, municipalities targeted. Law enforcement agencies have been hit with ransomware, but this makes me wonder, are we going to see more attacks targeting major cities, entire states? Like how is this going to play out down the road? And what does that mean for the threat of ransomware? It's concerning to say the least. And I know, Mick, you had another ransomware story that I think came out just today that's kind of interesting.
Of course you did. You picked it.
I did.
So there's this cardiologist in Venezuela. His name is Moises Luis Zagala Gonzalez, and he is a cardiologist, 55 years old. Also, in his spare time, he develops ransomware that you might know as Thanos. So he was charged in the U.S. for building ransomware tools and teaching people how to launch their own ransomware affiliate programs. So they can either start their own affiliate or, give him a cut for it. And basically, the ransomware itself lets you choose what data to exfil and what not to exfil, because you can just kind of snap and get half of it if you want to. And that's kind of a new one for me. So yeah, 55 years old is never too old to start a new career in development, I guess.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of impressed. I mean, not only are you a doctor, a cardiologist, theoretically operating on people, but you're also developing tools to ransom people. I mean, it's kind of it's a lot. It's a lot of multitasking.
I don't know how good a doctor he was. I don't know. Like
I
I
mean,
haven't
his
looked
name
it
is
up.
Tool after death, right? The name of the tool. It's a little concerning.
Well, Thanos was an eternal. You know what? It's a whole different episode. We'll get into the Marvel
We can
lore.
dive into that another
It's
time.
fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I like that he was also like teaching people, here's the best way to extort someone. Like it was also like a training educational thing. So that was nice advice from a wise.
So it reminds me of there was another 55-year-old named Max, and it turns out her name was, I think it was Ala Witty, but she was one of the TrickBot developers.
Oh, I think I remember that. So
That was way back in June of last year, so almost a year ago. It feels like forever, but yeah, she was the 55-year-old woman who did a little career pivot in her late 40s, became a ransomware affiliate developer, and got pretty high up. She was one of the seven folks that were indicted as part of the TrickBot crime gang.
I feel like we should. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I feel like we should have like, or maybe not us, but people are going to have like ransomware boot camps, like how to start your own ransomware gang.
Yeah,
like that's how you can get in the tech industry.
Yeah, with the affiliate models, training people up and recruiting, it's like a job. I mean, they have recruiters almost for these ransomware groups.
There was a thing, what was it? I think it was Ridgeview Medical Center as well. In 2020, the attack there, where the Conti group was behind those attacks, and that was where they ransom was $2 million, and I believe it was paid or money was transferred. There's never a confirmation of that, but then they wanted $4 million instead. So it just seems like, hey, instead of 150 Bitcoin, went 300, and that was something they did to Ridgeview. So they've kind of done it before. I'm curious if this escalates any kind of response from the federal agencies or a global agency.
Yeah. And it's also just interesting to get a behind the scenes look, like who are these affiliates, right? We saw the story about Lapsus come out just the other month about a bunch of teenagers, right? Like a 16-year-old alleged mastermind of Lapsus. So it's just kind of interesting to see how many different people are involved with ransomware and all over the world, really. So, but anyway, what else do you have, Mick?
All right. So last story is an alert that our friends at CISA put out last week. Basically, it was a joint alert with everyone. All the partners, international, came to the table and put out a warning for cyber threats to MSPs, or managed service providers. Basically, managed service providers are the folks that provide IT services for clients. So threat actors could use an MSP as a hot point that we've seen, I believe it was CISA last year. Was a great example of then ransomware was deployed downstream. These are the kind of threats that MSPs are facing. So the alert from CISA, includes recommendations to the MSPs like logging, MFA, network segmentation. Basically, that cyber hygiene that we preach all the time is kind of documented, something to point to in the alert. So yeah, I think ransomware. It is a very, very ransomware kind of Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely. So Kaseya, was that a supply chain attack, Mick?
Sure. Depends who you talk to, right?
Right. And so what is, I guess, the confusion about whether or not something is a supply chain attack? Because I see a lot of debate about that sometimes. Like, is it not?
I think InfoSec's a really pedantic group that likes to argue over stuff.
All right, there you go.
Hey, we don't want to argue, Mick. I just want to agree, okay?
There you have it. It's solved. So, Haylee, was it a supply chain attack?
Sure, why not? Yeah, it was something that other people used, and it was in their environment. So, sure, it's part of the supply chain. Sure, why not?
Perfect.
Well, all right, so let's switch gears here for a minute. We have a couple upcoming events that we want to highlight, and I believe we have a slide with an overview of some of those. We have another coffee talk with Kovar coming up. This one is May 24th. We have Mauricio Velesco from the Splunk Threat Research Team who's going to be on that episode. I don't believe that's scheduled yet, so keep an eye out on LinkedIn for the link to that. So that's coming up. We have another coffee talk with Serge, May 31st. RSA is just around the corner. I feel like everything is happening in June, right? We have RSA, Ryan's presenting a session there. We also have the Splunk Insider MiniCon, also known as SIM. That's June 13th, the first day of .conf in Las Vegas. And Mick, you have been working real hard to organize this. What exactly is it? What can people expect?
So on the first day of conf, Surge is hosting basically a one-day conference where we're having a bunch of folks like Juan Andres Guerrero, Joe Slowick, Nina Ali, Truxton Rotho's coming in just to kind of hang out with us for a day, kind of a private event for folks that are coming to conf. It's kind of like a give back to all the blue teams out there. So if you're in town and want more advice, talk to your Splunk rep, find out more information on it, and we'll see if we can get you in the door. It's super limited, so we're hoping it turns out pretty well.
Yeah. And registration, I believe, is still open for .conf in Vegas. We have the link there, conf.splunk.com. We also have bots.splunk.com for Boss of the SOC 7, which is launching this year. I know Tom Smith has been working really hard to put that together. I'm really excited for one of our new scenarios that's coming out. I won't give away any more details, but it's going to be a good one. And so, yeah, we have a lot going on. But today, Haylee and I were talking because we're all in different roles, right? So since Ryan's gone, we figured Haylee and I will do the 60-second challenge. Yeah.
I think Haylee challenged you is what happened.
This is
She did challenge me. I couldn't say no. So with that, I think today we're going to talk about what certs versus degrees, the age-old debate about what's a better way to be qualified in cybersecurity. A lot of opinions there. And let's go ahead and roll the clip first.
And now, Splunk's Cybersecurity 60-second charity challenge. Remember the rules. You've got to get through an entire subject in 60 seconds, or you donate to today's charity of choice. Good luck!
All right. Haylee, did you want to go first?
All right, let's go. Oh, geez. All right. So as someone who came out of left field into cybersecurity and animation, I didn't get a degree in cybersecurity, and I'm thankful that my mentor didn't push that towards me either, because I think not only do we have like this huge staffing demand we need to fill, I think it's more important to think about like the personality type that might be good at this, that could get the skills potentially on the job. And I think certs are like a knowledge check, but the people that I see that are the most curious are usually developing skills along with their cert knowledge. And that will happen in a degree program, a good degree program, but not all of them are good. And also it's 4 years. So I've seen a lot of people, for me, it was 1.5 years because I was really depressed when I learned cybersecurity, but I've seen mentees of mine take 3 months, 6 months, absorb a ton of content, do a bunch of stuff. And by the time they get to a SOC, they are already so hungry that they become the best analysts on the job.
Wow. Perfect timing. I have not done this before, so here goes nothing. All right, so, or if it plays.
I believe Drew is answering a customer's question.
I don't want to cheat the system and start too soon.
Well, I think you should get a handicap.
I'll give you an extra 10 seconds, Audra. Let's see what you got.
All right. Should I just go?
Uh-oh.
I can set a stopwatch on my phone. I promise I won't cheat.
Wait. Okay, go.
All right, you gonna do it, Mick? Okay. All right.
Hourglass.
Oh gosh. So when it comes to cybersecurity, the skills pool might be shallow, but the talent ocean is deep. If the industry continues to shun less qualified candidates instead of seeking untapped potential, it will never fill the hiring gap fast enough to defeat adversaries. Recruiters need to broaden the hiring criteria and consider candidates with aptitude and potential. Computer science degrees are great. Certifications are also great, especially for career changers like myself. I think it's time to rethink the job postings and HR algorithms that dismiss candidates with limited technical experience who have a desire to learn. Career changers often bring a wealth of experience and can play a valuable role in an organization's cybersecurity strategy. So my background is in journalism. I never touched a command line until last year, but I've always been interested in cybersecurity. I want to learn, and I think that it's great to have places like Splunk that hire for entry-level positions and factor in that time to learn, to train people up from within. I think that's something that needs to change with hiring and recruiting practices. I have no idea what the time is, but hopefully that works.
Oh, that was over a while ago. I was going to let you rant for a little bit because go ahead, do your thing.
Was that a freestyle or was that written?
I prepared a little statement for that. Yeah.
Okay, because I came to the rap battle just freestyling off the dome.
I'm not really much of a freestyler, so that was what I had. Nick, what do you think? Who won?
Well, did you cover the charity already, or we're gonna do that after?
Oh no, yeah, we need to go into the charity. Haylee, what are we donating to today?
Yes, so this is the wonderful, amazing, incredible folks at Trans Lifeline, which is a 24/7 suicide crisis hotline for trans folks. There's a lot of people calling recently, so we are very happy to support them.
Great. So yeah, Trans Lifeline. And Mick, who is the winner today?
Well, I think it's pretty awesome that I get to be the judge. I now I get how this power feels, Audra. And in true Audra fashion, I think Ryan is the winner. And you both will donate to Trans Lifeline, and Splunk will match. So 60 times 4 coming to Trans Lifeline's way. So yay, Ryan! Congratulations! Congratulations, Ryan!
Ryan, great. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Mick, for that. And I guess we're gonna transition now to RBA, which is something I was really excited to talk with you about, Haylee, because at Splunk, you're basically considered the queen of RBA now. It's kind of your new title, right?
I mean, I ascended to the throne recently that was passed on from the wonderful, incredible Jim Apker, yes, who's just been an institution at Splunk for a long time. And I feel so lucky to go in that trail of royalty. But, so I want to talk a little bit about what RBA is, in case people aren't familiar. The acronym, Risk-Based Alerting. It's kind of something that has been done in many methodologies before. I've seen a Black Hat talk by 4 in 2012 talking about basically doing this style of alerting. But I feel like it's like, if you're not exposed to the concept or like realize what the pieces are to make work, it can be difficult to truly implement in a SIM. So, Jim Apker and Stuart McIntosh of Outpost Security sort of got that started at Conf 18, and now it has come into product as like a feature that you can set up. It's much easier to do than with macros and all that. So what it is just that, traditional alerting, we have a log source, we write a detection logic that alerts us off of the log source. And that's kind of it. We get alerts. And the volume problem has tried to be solved by like criticality, like, oh, we only work highs and criticals. But like, what about all that great information that's in the mediums and lows and informational that's not even, actually contributing to your security program? So what risk-based alerting does is, rather than writing detection logic for alerts, we're writing detection logic for observations. So I've got a log source. I write out what I want to observe. Do I want to see registry key created, or something run from a temp directory? Things that I would never alert on regularly because they happen all the time, but I just want to know that they happened. And so in Splunk, we throw it into its own index called the risk index, and we add metadata to it. So like, this came from this source type, or this is the relevant MITRE attack technique, or CIS-20, or kill chain, or whatever you want. And then now that we've got this bucket, like for every object in our environment, now our alerts are looking when there's enough interesting things in the bucket. Now we alert. So you create some sort of threshold, like you can use a score, but you can also use like the number of tactics or the number of source types. So like, when I see one alert from EDR, one from IDS, and one from proxy, like, that's weird that one person is setting off alerts in all those different domains. So it's the future, and I want everyone to be doing it like as soon as possible.
I
But
know, and I love your enthusiasm about this because we've talked about RBA a lot. And I know just earlier this year, you spoke at MITRE Attack Con. And I think your talk was about mapping to MITRE, right? For any use case, whether or not it's Splunk or any RBA situation, it can be useful to map it.
Yeah, the idea was like, how do you operationalize MITRE? Because there's so many techniques on there that, like, let's say you get hacked and you make a forensic pathway of like, oh, here's what the attackers did. And you can like mark, well, they did this here, they did this here, they did this here. But so many of those techniques are like, to detect on that, it's such a noisy source. Like I'm looking at every time run DLL 32 runs something, like that happens thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of times. So you need some way to truly like make a detection from MITRE that actually contributes value. So there are some things that you could make a traditional one-to-one alert on, but a lot of things are hiding in plain sight in like noisy data sources. So this is a methodology to wrap those things up. And the reason I spoke at MITRE in like the framework way, like here's the methodology, it's because you can do risk-based alerting in any context. It's really just a methodology that you like build out a framework with. So I wanted people to be empowered, you know, regardless of what tool they have, that you can do this. But if you have Splunk, there's at least a little bit of that pathway is carved.
Right, exactly. And you also put out a blog post recently, and I'm going to share the link in the channel. I have a million tabs pulled up right now, but I will share the link on the comment section for LinkedIn. So yeah, here's your blog up on the screen right now about RBA with Splunk, basically how people can implement this. And I know we talked a lot about obviously alert fatigue, reducing false positives, and then also tuning, right? I mean, that's a big part of this too, is learning how you can tune for your environment so that you're not, you know, overwhelmed with all of these alerts.
Yeah. So I'm actually speaking at Conf about tuning in an RBA context specifically, because what I loved about this was like, I came from a detection engineer background specifically for EDR and then SIM. And when I was crafting an EDR detection, it would take like a week or 2 weeks to like try and tune out all the regular business traffic. And I knew as soon as I enabled it, it would just be crappy alerts for the SOC because there was no way to truly get out all of the regular business traffic. Humans are weird. They do weird stuff all the time. So once I had RBA in place, like rather than a week or two per rule, it was often like 5 to 10 rules a week. Like I could throw together because I'm just observing, and then I could see what that observation does. And if it blows things up, maybe I got to go back to the drawing board. But like we were pumping out rules left and right. And so as an engineer, that was satisfying, but it was even more satisfying because I used to be an analyst and I knew I wasn't creating garbage for them to work through because I had been there and I never want to do that.
Exactly. You have a really unique, I think a lot of people have this perspective if they worked in a SOC, if they've been an analyst, but if you're, you know, maybe in a decision of purchasing, right? If you're looking for a tool, you may not have necessarily had that experience. So I think your perspective is really helpful with different use cases and how it can apply in different situations. So I guess if you had one takeaway for RBA that you want to share with the world right now, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. All 10 million of them. Just that I feel like this is basically like the future of where we'll go with alerting in this specific like detection style space. Because you also have like active countermeasures with canaries and honey nets and stuff. Like there are multiple response pathways, but I think this is where the detection and response pathway is going. And once everyone gets there, I'm so excited that the next steps that cyber defense will take.
Yeah, definitely. It's an exciting process. And I'm really excited that you are behind this initiative right now with getting the word out about RBA. So cannot wait for your .conf talk and to learn more about tuning. And it's a learning process, right? Like you start somewhere and then you just learn as you go with tuning and based on what you're seeing. So definitely helpful, especially to see you walk through it. That's been probably the most informative for me. So if anyone out there is using Splunk and wants to see, you know, a run through of how this works, I can testify that it's really impactful.
Yeah, we'll get videos out there this year because I want people to be able to see it also.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Haylee, for coming on. And before we leave, I just want to do one more run through. We have Coffee Talk with Kovar coming up May 24th. And then the next Coffee Talk with Surge is May 31st. And I also want to share one more link in the LinkedIn chat, and this is for Surge alerts. If you haven't heard, Surge will put out alerts anytime there's breaking security news to provide you the latest information. And we also have a newsletter that we're sending out this month and a lot of really cool information about upcoming events, and including SIM, which Mick talked about earlier, our conference within a conference at .conf. So stay tuned for more information about that. And yeah, thank you so much, Haylee, for filling in for Ryan today. It was great to have you on.
Yeah, happy to be here.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everyone.